Hello everyone, my name is Alexander Kazina, aka Kozibear, and I'd like to thank you for joining me this evening for another installment of Season 6 of Kozibear's Cooking. This is a limited run 6-episode show that you can watch live on both twitch.tv/KozibearLive and youtube.com/@KozibearLive every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time between September 25th and October 30th. And if you miss watching it live, don't you worry, you can view full-length VODs of all my past streams and their best moments on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. You can find me at Alex Kazina on the latter two platforms. That's at ALEXKOZINA. Shout out to Diggs, who's in the chat. He says, what up? And I am doing quite well. Thank you for asking. He actually said, what's up? It's spelled WASSUP, but you get the idea. I have a great episode in store for you all, so let's get this ball right and rolling. You've seen it from the intro of the stream. Today, we are going to be making pumpkin pie smoothies, but that's not all. That is not all. We are also going to be making a couple of pumpkin pies themselves. We have already ahead of time pre-prepared not one, not two, but 3 different pie crusts. That's the biggest one. That's the less big one. And we have ourselves an itty-bitty tiny pie crust over here. I have all 3 of these pie crusts prepared, and we are going to be preparing ourselves 3 pumpkin pies inside of them. And then the idea is, while they're baking in the oven, because pumpkin pie takes a little while to bake in the oven, we're going to turn over to our Mandy's cookbook, and we're going to make ourselves a pumpkin pie smoothie. The specific pumpkin pie, not the smoothie, but just the normal pumpkin pie recipe that we're going to be making today, comes courtesy of the New York Cult Recipes Cookbook, which is a cookbook that I've consulted on many of my streams in the past. You might remember me consulting it a fair bit in seasons 1, 2, and 3. I used it a fair bit then. There's a couple of good recipes in here. I don't know that I've ever made their pumpkin pie before, but I am definitely excited to do so today. Let me bring in our recipe image. As you can see, this is what the finished version of our pumpkin pie, or at least one of our pumpkin pies, should look like today. I mean, the crust probably won't look as impressive as their crust. Their crust looks really, really nice, but I think the overall taste and I think the overall form factor will come very close, so that's something to be excited for. Let me read to you a little bit about what the recipe book has to say about this particular pumpkin pie. This smooth, delicious interpretation of the Thanksgiving classic is a gift from my friend Sarah Jane Crawford, who has lent me her baking skills to such fine establishments as the Rose Bakery in Paris and Marlowe & Sons in South Williamsburg, Brooklyn. So some pretty big names attached to this particular pastry that we are going to be making today. This particular recipe is just for a single 10.5-inch pie, but I made double the amount of pie crusts. Basically a spread across those 3 pie crusts that I showed you earlier, and we're also going to be making double the amount of filling. But like usual, I have all of this written out on my phone because it's a little bit easier for me there. So let's go ahead and consult our recipe for today. Step 1, real simple. We're going to go upstairs and start by preheating our oven to 350 degrees because, of course, we eventually need to bake our pumpkin pies in the oven. So I'm going to be right back, and I am going to go upstairs and preheat our oven. The oven upstairs has been preheated, so that's taken care of. I actually, just a little inside scoop, I actually preheated it to 365 degrees as opposed to 350, because I figure that if I have a couple of pies in there, in fact, you know what, at some point I might even actually go upstairs and just bump it up to 375, because my oven tends to run a little bit cold, and also on top of that, you know, you have multiple pies in there and you might need a little bit more heat. But we'll let it preheat to 365 for the time being. Let's go ahead and let's move on to step number 2. With our oven preheating, we're going to mix together 6 eggs, 2 egg yolks, and a cup and a third of brown sugar in a large bowl. Normally, if we were doing the normal version of this recipe, it would be half of all those various measurements I just read off. So we would just be mixing together 3 eggs, 1 egg yolk, and 2/3 a cup of light brown sugar. But we're making double, which is why we are using double. Let's go ahead and let's bring in our top-down camera. Once again, we have ourselves a nice big-ass bowl over here because we're going to be making a huge amount of mixture today. And let's get cracking. We will start with our eggs first, and we can actually zoom in a little bit here to show the egg action in all their glory. There we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. What's helpful is because you can see the yolks, you can easily tell at a glance how many eggs you've put in something like this, which is very helpful. It's 4. Egg came apart partially. There we go. That's 5. And that is 6. There we go. Next up, let's take care of our egg yolks. So what we're going to do for this is, whoops, knocked something, but we're okay. We're going to bring in this little bowl over here. And we are just going to separate our yolks from our whites very carefully. And then we will put our yolk in the bowl. And maybe I'll have a bit of, I used some eggs earlier in the day to brush some of the pie crusts that you see over there. So maybe I'll mix the whites that I have here with some of the extra excess yolks I still have in the fridge. And maybe I'll do a little bit of cooking with them just so that they don't go to waste. And there we go. And I think that's a nice little extra yolk for the bowl. And now number 2. My hands are a little bit sticky right now, so I'm definitely gonna do a wash after we're done with this segment. There we go. I think once more. Whoops. There we go. I think we're good. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plop that egg yolk in there. And now I'm just going to give my hands a quick little wash. There we go. I was just checking real quick. As you know, I recently set up a foot pedal, but it was a little bit tough to reach the foot pedal. So I took the foot pedal and I installed it on the wall next to where I enter into this room with my sink. And there we go. Dry my hands a little bit. And there we go. I think I might need to use the bathroom soon. But not right away. So I think we should be good. Okay, for now. Let's see here. We can put this aside. And now for our eggs. We also don't need this thing either, so we'll schlep that in our trolley. Right, we need to measure out some of our brown sugar. This is golden yellow sugar that I got at, I believe this was Costco. Functionally, basically the same as what we need here. And we need 1 1/3 of a cup of this stuff. Let's see here. I'm going to bring out our big measuring cup. Oh, that might be a little too much. Let's see. There's a couple of big chunks. Oh, but they're falling apart of my hand. I was like, I'm going to put these back in the bag from whence they came, but it wasn't so easy to do that. Yeah, I'm going to take a couple of spoonfuls and put it back in the thing. There we go. Let's see. How is this? I think that's about good. It's not perfectly even on top, but if I just spread it out a little bit, I'm actually wondering if maybe I should actually slightly add a little bit more. No, I think we're good. Let me just add a tiny amount. There we go. There we go. I think that's good. All right. I'm going to plop that in there. Let me just bring my phone back into view. And yeah, there we go. I'm going to mark off all the ingredients that we've used so far. And I am going to give this thing a good stir. Incorporate all our eggs and whatnots into a nice slurry. In terms of our recipe images, by the way, what I'm showing in the upper left corner is a good image of like the entire pie as it will look when it's been baked. But I do also have an individual image of one of the pieces of the pie. Again, this is all from the New York Cult Recipes Cookbook. Very nice looking, and I may or may not have perhaps some of the white stuff that you see in that photo to put on top of it later on, but we're getting a little bit of that ahead of ourselves. Okay, there's a lot of chunky bits, the sugar that has not yet been fully incorporated. Still a little bit chunky, but we're definitely starting to come together now. Let's see. You really want to do your best to make sure that all the sugar is nicely dissolved into the mixture. You don't have any chunkers floating around in the water. In the egg yolk. I think we're good. I think that's it. I think we're all nicely dissolved. Let me grab my twist tie and let me put this thing in the trolley because I don't think we're going to need to use it for the duration of the stream. There we go. All right. Next up, step 3. We are going to, one by one, mix a cup of maple syrup, 3 cups of heavy whipping cream, 30 ounces of pumpkin puree, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg into our sugar and egg mixture. So lots of things that we're going to be mixing in here, but we are going to be starting with our maple syrup. Let's see here. Here we go. This is our maple syrup. We tend to put it in this bottle because it makes it easy when we want to pour it on pancakes or French toast, things of that nature. I don't think we're gonna... Will we even reach a cup, though, with this? We seemingly will not, but that is okay, because we have another container of maple syrup at the ready right over here. Okay. Gonna be very careful. This stuff is very sticky. We don't want it getting everywhere. There we go. I like the idea of a pumpkin pie recipe that incorporates a little bit of maple syrup into it. I think we have the makings of a very, very tasty pie. We will need our maple syrup a bit later on, but we can put this bottle back into the trolley. All right, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to pour this stuff into our bowl. We'll let it drip for a little bit because this stuff is sticky and it tends to stick to whatever vessel you pour it into. I'm going to use this thingy to help the process along, just because you don't have all day. Okay, and that is good, but I will very quickly grab this little thing of paper towel just so we can rest the scraper on top of it for the time being. And we are going to mix this up so that our sugar, eggs, and maple syrup are well incorporated. Okay, let's see. I want to be careful the spoon doesn't sink inside the thing. Next up, 3 cups of heavy whipping cream. Gonna go grab our bigger measuring cup, and I'm gonna reach into our trolley down below. I'm gonna grab some heavy whipping cream. This is, this time around I'm just using some no-name brand heavy whipping cream. I figured that if we're going to be using a lot of this stuff, we can go a little cheaper this time around. It's only like $1 cheaper. All right. Number 1. This will be just under 2 cups. Or it might just reach, actually. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it's just shy of 2 cups. Which means we'll be able to get to just about 3 cups after we open up our second boy over here. This little thing we will want to recycle, so I'm gonna put that in our trolley for later. Let's see here, and we'll get to 2 cups. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pour this in here. Really lightened up the mixture quite significantly. There we go. And next up, we got 1 more cup of this stuff to go. And there we go. That is a cup. There's still a little bit left in the carton. I don't know when we're going to use it next, but I will safely put it back in our little lunchbox. And we will take care of that later. And in we go. This scraper is such a useful little tool. So incredibly useful. Okay. And let's go ahead and let's mix this up. I suspect it will probably, after we've properly incorporated everything here, turn perhaps a little bit more of a golden color. I don't think it'll be perfectly light or perfectly dark. Somewhere betwixt and in between. It's taking a hot minute for it to properly incorporate together because a lot of the darker stuff, the sugar, the maple syrup, is a little bit heavier and it's sunk to the bottom. And so you gotta dredge it up from the bottom, incorporate it into the rest of the mixture. I'm definitely very happy that I used a bowl of this size, by the way, because I think any smaller and we would not have been able to fit all this stuff in here. I'm going to zoom out just temporarily, just to give you an idea of just how big we're dealing with here. Okay, let's see. Next up. We dealt with our 3 cups of whipping cream. Next up are 30 ounces of pumpkin puree. Now, I got to come clean here. I actually am in need of an additional piece of equipment. You see, I got over here 2 big boy cans of pumpkin puree. We definitely have more than the 30 ounces of pumpkin puree that we need, but because it's measured in ounces, I kind of want to use my digital scale, and it would be good if we had our own bowl specifically for measuring the pumpkin puree. So I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to grab a bowl for the explicit purpose of exactly that. I will be right back. I am back with a bowl, as previously discussed. It took me just a little minute upstairs because I wanted to ever so slightly adjust the temperature of the oven. I decided to set it to 375 degrees, but I might actually end up lowering it a little bit later on. But our oven does tend to be a little bit on the cooler side. So I will see whether or not I need to do so. I don't want to spill any of this anywhere. I just want to move it a little bit so that it's a little out of the way. A little out of the way. There we go. That's good. Okay. Let's bring our top-down camera back in. once again. First off, before we measure things with our digital scale, we have to open up some of our pumpkin cans. So let's do that. This is just pure pumpkin puree. It's not seasoned with anything. Of course, the contents of this can are technically not pumpkin. Usually they tend to be another kind of gourd that apparently works a little bit better for pumpkin and baking. I don't know the name of it, though. But if people in the chat know, they can let me know. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to reset the thing on here, and let's switch to ounces, and we are at 0. Now I'm going to grab, here we go, a spoon, and we're going to scrape off some of the stuff that was on the lid of the stuff. On a sec. And I'm pretty sure that from here I can basically dump the entirety of this can in here. Because I don't think that this one can by itself is enough. Let's just put that on there temporarily. Right now we're at just under 2 ounces. We're at about 16 ounces now. 21. 25. Almost 26. Yeah, we're just going to be a little bit under 30, which is why we need the second can. There we go. Oh, it's funny. It's just like ever so barely under 30, which is funny. Scraping up a little, and I'm gonna push a little of the extra puree in there with my finger. It's okay because I washed my hands earlier. Almost 29 ounces. It's kind of shocking how close we got to 30 ounces, but not quite there. I'm gonna put that in our trolley. I'm gonna open up this other bad boy. Toot sweet. Oh, there we go. And I'll just keep that in there for now. And I want to be very careful so we don't have to go over. 30 and 17. Let me just get some of this stuff back in there. Oh, now we went slightly under. So I'm going to get a little bit back in. And there we go. 30.03. I think that's good. And we'll put this over here to the side because we will need to use some of that pumpkin puree a little bit later on when we make our pumpkin pie smoothie. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Also, we don't need our can opener anymore, so I'll put that in the trolley. Let's go ahead and let's mix our pumpkin into our mixture. There we go. Just slopping in there like a big old poop. Now I'm gonna, once again, use the thingamabob so we can get our extra detritus pumpkin pie matter in here. By the way, small note, if you're watching this on YouTube, you might have noticed that I don't have a custom thumbnail for this particular stream. It's just the generic thing that's like Kozibear amidst like the Pokemon background. I actually did create a custom thumbnail ahead of time. You can see it on Twitter where I advertised using that particular thumbnail. For whatever reason, would not upload to YouTube. My stream was a little bit late today because I tried every trick in the book to try and see if I could figure out how to upload the thing to YouTube. I like resized it, made multiple copies of it, did it in YouTube Studio instead of the YouTube Live Studio. Would not work. So yeah, sorry that things were a little bit late in that regard, but I figured it sucks that this thing doesn't have a thumbnail now, but I can certainly figure out the thumbnail situation later on. It's probably going to be one of those things where I'm just going to have to inexplicably restart my computer, and for whatever reason, then it will work. Maybe I won't have to restart my whole computer. Maybe I'll have to restart my browser. But it's so bizarre. Like, I don't understand why it wasn't letting me upload the thumbnail. Fucking computers. It's probably not my computer, by the way. It's probably just YouTube being annoying. YouTube not letting you do one of the more obvious things that you should be able to do on your YouTube videos. It's a little chunky right now, but we will continue to mix this up until it's a little bit more smooth. Now, what you need to do is a technique where, like, you push the pumpkin matter against the wall so that breaks it up into smaller pieces so that it will more easily incorporate and mix into the rest of the mixture. Let me just do a little bit more, and then we will move on to our next ingredient that we have to incorporate into this bad boy. It's going to be, telling you right now, it is going to be interesting to pour this into our pumpkin pie things. It's going to be interesting. That is something that we will definitely have to work out as we go along. Okay. Let's move on to our next ingredient. Obviously, what we've created right now is it would probably be pretty flavorful if we were to, like, just pour it into our pumpkin pie crust right now and bake them in the oven, but we need to spice our thing up a little bit, right? Which is why next we're going to mix in 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I believe this is our cinnamon, correct. Let's see here. Here we go. These are our measuring spoons. So we're going to grab the single teaspoon measuring spoon, and we're going to mix in 2 teaspoons of the stuff. We'll just, before we won't mix it in between every single thing of spice. We'll just do them all at once, and then we'll mix it once. There we go. That's teaspoon number 1 of cinnamon. And teaspoon number 2 of cinnamon. We will need our teaspoon of cinnamon later on for when we make our smoothie. So we will keep that on the table. Let me just... There's been a little bit of a spillage here of excess cinnamon. So I'm going to wipe this up real quick. And there we go. Next up, 2 teaspoons of ginger. Right over here. I wonder what it would be like to make a pumpkin pie with, like, not like ground ginger, but like just regular raw ginger. I wonder what that tastes like. Maybe I have to imagine it's probably a little bit more like, I know that like ground versions, dried versions of herbs tend to be more potent than the not dried version, but I bet that I have a feeling that if you were to use raw ginger in a recipe like this, it would probably come out tasting kind of funky. I can do a little bit more, but it's a little, when you have a thing that is this deep, it's a little tough to. There we go. And there we go. Ginger is taken care of. Finally, just a single teaspoon of nutmeg. For this one, I'm actually going to use the half teaspoon. It's because it'll be a little bit easier to fit into this jar. It's a single half teaspoon. It's another half teaspoon. Oh, makes me want to sneeze. I hope I don't sneeze. Okay, there we go. And with that taken care of, we are going to go ahead and we are going to give this bad boy another mixer-upper. So let's bring in our zoomed-in top-down camera. I wonder if I should add like a pinch of salt into this thing. Normally, most sweets would ask for you to add a little pinch of salt. I did add a little bit of salt to the crust. But they've not asked me to do so yet with this thing. But also, I should probably be mindful of the instructions. Trust in their process and not deviate too much from the path. But I can't help but wonder, you know? By the way, first stream where I'm just wearing an average shirt. I know you probably didn't notice, but yeah, I'm just wearing a normal t-shirt and not like a crazy, super sweaty dress shirt. I figured that it was time to... I was so concerned with making my streams look as official as possible, and I came to the realization recently that, like, I gotta just stop doing that. I gotta wear stuff that I'm comfortable in, especially if I'm doing these for multiple hours. It's definitely starting to smell very pumpkin-y. Oh, hold on. Someone is trying to call me, but they should know that I am currently streaming. So I'm going to let them know that I am currently streaming. There we go. And hopefully it's nothing critical. Let's go ahead and let's move on to, what is it? Step 4. I was like, what number are we on again? Let's see here. Sorry, hold on. Before I get to step 4, I gotta... Oh, I see. They're wondering if what I'm making is something that we can enjoy for supper. So I'll let them know. I'm making a pumpkin pie, mainly as dessert to have later. So if you want to pick something up for supper proper, feel free to do so. Also, feel free to watch my streams live. So, hold on, I made a spelling mistake. So you can see what I'm making and know in advance whether I'm making a dessert or a non-dessert. P.S. I'm texting you this while live on stream. I'm making a show out of it. All right, there we go. That should be everything that he needs to know. Okay, next up, step 4. We're going to pour our pumpkin pie filling into our pre-prepared pie crusts and then schlep them in the oven for 40 minutes until the filling has set. Excuse me there. Okay, let's do a couple of things real quick. I am just gonna put my spoon in this bowl over here real quick. I'm just gonna do a little bit of scraping on the sides of this bowl, just so that we incorporate as much of the filling down below. I'm also gonna do a little bit of scraping on some of the inner bottom layers to make sure nothing is over there that's not being incorporated. It seems like we're pretty good. It seems like we don't have anything to worry about. Okay. Let's go ahead. We're going to start with our biggest pie crust. This big boy over here. Now, here's the thing. You know what I'm thinking? I'm wondering if I try to pour this, will this... I feel like it might be a little bit of a disaster. So you know what I'm going to do? Oh, look at this. There's a little bit over here that wasn't properly incorporated. There we go. Now we're good. Okay. I am going to... See, I have a measuring cup over here that I previously used for my maple syrup. I'm actually going to rinse this boy, dry him, and then we'll actually use that to pour our pumpkin pie mixture into our thingamabob bit by bit. We're just going to wipe the exterior with our dish towel, just so that that part is dry. And then I'll do the same for the interior with a paper towel once I return to the table. Let me bring the sink cam out. There we go. Just want to check real quick. Any reaction from the person I sent those text messages to? No, we're currently good. All right. Let's go ahead. I am going to get a big old picture of this stuff. Look at that. Look at that. And I am going to pour it into our pumpkin pie crust. It's one nice scoop. And get another big scoop. Get it in there. Another big scoop. I think we can probably do one more. Although we will, I'm going to stop while we're ahead, even though we're not quite full. Just so that we can see how filled up we're going to get with the other pie crust. So I'm going to push that over there. I'm going to grab crust number 2. This is about an 8-inch pie, as opposed to the other one, which is about 9 inches. It's also not nearly as... this one is a lot less deep. Wow, I have a lot of pumpkin puree left. I probably have the means to make like an entire other pie. I actually made way more than I thought I would. Yeah, this is a big batch of pumpkin pies mix. Okay. I'm going to push that over here. Again, we will continue to fill these up in just a bit, but I want to make sure that each thing of pumpkin pie gets a sufficient amount of filling. And now the itty bitty pumpkin pie gets its fill. Okay, I think the itty bitty pumpkin pie. Sorry, I'm just trying to put it down carefully without spilling it everywhere. I think that's filled up enough. I want to see if I can put a little bit more in the middle-sized pie. And then I'll try to fit as much as I can in the big mama pie. Okay. Let me just... I'm trying to figure out how we want to move these around, because I don't want to... I didn't want to do this, but I'm just going to fully immerse the measuring cup in the bowl. I don't want it to tip over, though, so we'll try to prevent it from tipping over. I'm just going to... There we go. Move that over there. Gonna very carefully bring this bad boy in. I probably put a little bit too much pumpkin pie in the medium one, to be totally honest. I'm probably going to need to remove a little bit. I'm making an executive call. In fact, you know what? Let's do that right now. Spoonful by spoonful, I'm just going to spoon the pie mixture into this one. There we go. That's 2 spoonfuls. It's 3 spoonfuls. It's 4 spoonfuls. It's 5 spoonfuls. 6 spoonfuls. And that's 7 spoonfuls. We'll go with lucky number 7 for now. I can already see it receded. Actually, you know, just for extra good luck, you know, it's luckier than 7 is 1 more than 7, which is 8. We're going to do 8 spoonfuls in there. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to grab a little picture of the stuff. Oh, hold on. We got another important text message. Thank you. And they should know that I'm streaming during this time. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour another thing in here, but we're going to be careful that we don't, again, fill it up too much, because that's not what we're trying to do. Okay, I think that's good. I think that's about as good as we want to get it. Okay, well, that means, unfortunately, we now have this pumpkin pie mixture over here that we gotta use up soon, so I'm probably gonna have to make another pie tomorrow, which is funny. And was not originally part of my plans, but you know, that's sometimes how it happens. I'll probably just have to make like a single, probably a little bit less than like a single amount of the stuff. Okay. Let's see here. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put this here in the trolley. Get that out of the way. And our oven, by this point, our oven is probably sufficiently heated up. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit the BRB scene, and I'm going to very carefully bring these 3 bad boys upstairs and chop them in the oven. I'm going to try to be very careful, so it might be a minute before I come back. But when I come back, we are going to be ready to make ourselves some pumpkin, what do you want to call it? Pumpkin pie smoothies. It's the name of the stream. I should probably remember that. I'll be right back. I am back. Thank you, Twitch 8030. I don't know if you're real or a bot, but either way, thank you so much for your patience. Before we talk any further, I'm going to bring in our timer real quick. We're supposed to cook these bad boys in the oven for 40 minutes, so I'm bringing in the timer right away, and we are going to activate that timer. And there we go. Yeah, when I was upstairs preparing the pies to be put in the oven, I very quickly realized I have a little too much excess pumpkin pie mixture inside these guys, and so I took a minute to basically just even things out, put some of the pumpkin pie mixture back into the bowl. I will still have to figure out what to do with that at some point. I'm probably going to have to make some new... Maybe what I'll do for that is I'll just buy some pre-made pumpkin pie crusts at the store, and like, not like pumpkin pie crust, but just like pie crusts. And maybe I'll just use that to make some extra pumpkin pies rather than go through the whole shebang of making my own again. I think that's probably going to be, that's probably what I'll do. And what I'll probably do is I'll probably go and get them after this stream, because it still will be early enough that the stores won't be closed yet. Okay, that's taken care of, which means that we can now move into the next part of our stream, which is making our pumpkin pie smoothie. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier. The pumpkin pie smoothie recipe in question comes from, let me bring in our zoomed in front-facing camera, the Mandy's cookbook. This is actually more Mandy's, because this is actually their second cookbook. Mandy's is a like healthy kind of soups and salad chain here in Montreal. I actually don't think I've ever eaten at one before, but I have passed by them a lot. And this was gifted to me at some point. It's a very nice cookbook, but I don't think I've actually even used this cookbook before, but I felt obliged to finally use it so that I could say, hey, I'm using these great gifts you gave me at some point. Pumpkin pie smoothie. It's located over here. Obviously, primarily this cookbook contains things like soups, salads, things of that nature. But they do also have some baked goods as well, like some cupcakes, some cookies, some scones, and of course, smoothies, which is what we're going to be making now. Here's what they have to say about the pumpkin pie smoothie. Have you, by any chance, looked through your pantry and noticed you went overboard buying pumpkin puree for those festive pumpkin pies? Us too. Use it here for the perfect fall morning or mid-afternoon pumpkin pie smoothie, which I really like that idea. I really like that idea because I knew that I was definitely going to buy too much pumpkin pie puree for this particular stream. And so when I was planning it out, I was like, well, I can definitely figure out an extra use for this. And this particular recipe is like custom made exactly for that. All right. Now, this is actually a very simple recipe, but we're going to take our time because we can. I'm going to go ahead and once again switch over to our phone where all this is written out. Step number one, we're going to start by first mixing together 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/4 a teaspoon of ground ginger, and 1/8 a teaspoon of ground cloves. This will basically make our pumpkin spice mixture, which we will then later be mixing into our smoothie. So first things first, let's grab our cinnamon. Let's grab our teaspoon measuring spoon. Let's measure out some cinnamon for us. We're going to be making, by the way, twice the normal amount of this particular smoothie. So if you're just looking to make it for yourself, you only have to use about half of what it is that I'm going to be using today. Man, I always spill so much cinnamon everywhere. Something I'll have to work on in the future. But yeah, you only have to make about half of what I'm going to be making today. There we go. We will give our table a more thorough cleansing later. Number 2, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Where are we? Here we go. And nutmeg is in. By the way, we don't need the ground nutmeg anymore, so we'll put this in our little trolley, although I might use the cinnamon later on as just like a little bit of dusting. So we will keep the cinnamon out here for the time being. Next up, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground ginger. Not nearly as much ginger as we used previously. I'd be curious. I feel like this, you know, earlier when we were talking about the pumpkin pie, I was like, I bet that if I used raw, normal ginger for making the pumpkin pie, it would come out kind of funky. I actually feel like using raw ginger for making this smoothie would actually come out really good. I actually feel like it would like really enhance the flavors. But I don't have any. Actually, I do have some raw ginger upstairs, but I don't want to experiment right now. And finally, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves. So let's go ahead and let's open this thing up and get 1/8 of a teaspoon in here. How do I open this? All right, I'll just use the holes on this. Okay. I can actually fit this in here, which is nice. And there we go. 1/8 of a teaspoon, and we don't need any ground cloves anymore, so we'll put that in the trolley as well. And I'm actually going to, I'll use the smallest of the teaspoons, the 1/8 of a teaspoon, to mix this up a little bit. There we go. And there we go. Perfect. All right, which means that we have now arrived at step number 6. We're going to add a cup of the pumpkin puree, a cup of the almond milk, a frozen banana, a tablespoon of maple syrup, a teaspoon of our pumpkin spice mixture, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a half teaspoon of salt, and 2/3 a cup of vanilla protein powder to our blender. We're going to pulse it 5 to 8 times and then blend it on medium for 20 to 30 seconds. Lots of things to do right here. First things first, we're going to want to reuse this measuring cup that we previously used for our heavy cream. So I'm going to bring in our sink camera so that we can clean it out. Don't need to do a super thorough cleansing. We really just need to rinse the bottom of this thing. There we go. There we go. And there's a little excess water in here. Speaking of water, I'm a little parched, so I'm gonna have myself a quick little swig of the stuff. And there we go. We're about 1/4 of the way through our cooking time for our pies, although knowing that it might end up taking a little bit longer. It's until the pumpkin pie mixture is supposed to set. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and we are going to schlep a cup of this stuff in here. It's a little bit hard to... There we go. That's about 1/4 of a cup. There we go. A little more. Little more. Little more. All right, let's see. Where are we at? I think that's about a cup, but let me just add a little more. And I think that we should be good. And yep, that's about a cup. Let us... I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to go on the other side here to grab our blender because it's very heavy and expensive, and I would not want it to accidentally fall and cause a big ruckus. We used this blender actually just earlier today off stream to make, let me zoom out a little bit here. We used the blender just earlier to make the dough. I had to mix up a little bit of flour with some butter, water, lemon juice, and some salt to make that stuff. Now we're going to be using it again to make a smoothie, which is what I usually use my blender for. I usually use this guy with one of the little small blender containers to make smoothies every morning. I like to start off the day with a little bit of protein, and they're very refreshing, especially when mixed together with a nice tasting fruit. Let's see here. Pumpkin pie puree. It's going to be our first ingredient in here. If it will fall, which who knows whether or not it will fall. Hold on. We gotta use the spoon to help this bad boy along. Now, of course, a big glob of it is stuck on top of the thing here. I can't remember the last time that I used my blender in one of these streams. It's definitely been a while. I definitely didn't use it in seasons 4 or 5, so it's got to be 3 or earlier. Yeah. And there we go. That's about good. Next up, we got to mix in here. Let me just make a little thing that I can put my spoon on. A cup of almond milk. Now, the particular almond milk we're going to be using is Earth's Own almond milk. And this stuff actually has vanilla already mixed into it, which I'm a little bit iffy about. I generally, when I want to make a smoothie for myself, or generally when I want to drink almond milk, I'm not looking for something super sweet, super sugary. I'm looking for something that's relatively plain. That's generally how I like it. I'll add like a little bit less vanilla extract to kind of compensate. I still like this, for the record. Nothing against the flavor of this. It's just I generally tend to find flavorless, unflavored almond milk better for, the purpose of doing this sort of thing. Also, this stuff, 1 cup of this has like 120 calories. The unflavored, unsweetened version, just 30 calories. And so there's a big caloric difference when it comes to sweetened and unsweetened almond milks. We're going to use the same measuring cup. I'm going to pour in a cup of this stuff. That's about good. There we go. And there we go. And we'll just use our spoon to help scrape a little bit of the stuff in here. There we go. All right. Next up, 1 frozen banana. Yes, we actually have to mix a frozen banana into here. And I have the frozen banana right next door. I figured that it wouldn't last long if I had the frozen banana in my little cooler pack. And so instead, I inserted it into our big chest freezer that we have in the Kazina household basement. Here we go. I put a little sticker on it saying need for stream because I didn't want anyone to use my frozen banana for anything without my authorization. Now, I kept it in the peel, which I'm now realizing might have been a mistake. Oops. Okay, how am I gonna... Can I break this in half? Okay, I messed up. I don't know... I have a knife. Let's see here. If I can just... What I need to do is I need to start by... If cutting off the ends of this thing. Oh, okay, the end is off, but I don't know where it ended up. Oh, I stepped on it. If this doesn't work out, I just have a normal banana, but fuck. I really should have thought this through ahead of time. I don't know what I was thinking doing this. There we go. Well, we cut it in half now. And now what I'm thinking is maybe what I can do is I can, like, slowly remove the peel by making incisions on this thing. There we go. It's just like a banana with a really, really tough peel. It's not very appealing, you could say. All right. This is not great, though. I did not think this through. All right. And, like, it would have been so easy for me ahead of time to just remove the peel. I don't know why I froze the banana with the peel on. Why did I do that? Okay, well. All right, well, that was a little messier than I wanted it to be, but we got our first thing of banana in here. Let me actually I should probably cut this bad boy up a little bit. But it would be good if I did this on its surface. Maybe if I do it on the same thing of paper towel. There we go. So it's almost like ice cubes. There we go. And that's half of it. All right, second half. We can do this. We can definitely do this. Again, we made things needlessly difficult for ourselves. Gotta get this peel off. Come on. And here we go, a few more pieces. And there we go. We cut through a little bit to the side of the table. That's my bad. This is me being big ol' dumb idiot, not thinking to use a cutting board, not thinking that maybe in advance I should probably remove the peel from the banana before I freeze it. It's very small marks, but whatever. I'll just try not to think of it for the future. Let's see. Just a single tablespoon of maple syrup. That's our next ingredient. Much simpler than our stupid frozen banana. Here we go. And there we go. A tablespoon of maple syrup. Oh, I don't want to spill the maple syrup on the table. That would be calamitous. I needed to have brought another plate on the table. We don't need any more maple syrup. We'll put this in the trolley. Let's have a little more water. Next up, a teaspoon of the pumpkin spice mixture that we mixed together a little bit earlier. Where is this? Here we go. So I'll just do another big mixer up. Now we will, there we go, measure out a good teaspoon of the stuff. And there we go. I'll find a use for this later on. Next up, it says 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, but because we're dealing with almond milk that's already a little bit vanilla flavored, I'll probably put a little bit less than a full teaspoon of the stuff. Let's see here. There we go. That's probably fine. It's like 3/4 of a teaspoon. It's probably almost a little bit too much, but that's all right. Next up, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're finally bringing some salt into today's recipe making. Surprised it took this long. Let's see. I'll do it over the measuring cup. There we go. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All mixed in there. And finally, 2/3 of a cup of vanilla protein powder. I have quite the story with this one, but before we do that, we need to clean this measuring cup. So let's bring our sync camera back in and give it the old rinse-a-rooney. And there we go. We're just going to use this dish towel to just wipe the exterior of the measuring cup. The interior we'll wipe down with some cleaner paper towels. All right. So in terms of the vanilla protein powder, I like to use, give me a second to bring our full camera view back in here. This stuff, this is Lean Fit Whey Protein Powder. I don't really look at the name of this stuff. I just know that it's good. This is stuff that I buy at Costco. Although I'm pretty sure you can get it at other places that sell food products as well. I've experimented with a few different whey protein powders in the past, and this has sort of become my go-to one. I think this is sort of the sweet spot. It is a little bit sweetened, but not that much, just 2 grams of sugar per portion. And it is vanilla flavored, but I feel like the vanilla flavor serves as a good base for whatever else it is that I add into the smoothie, as opposed to something that overpowers the rest of it. I like this stuff a lot. I can definitely vouch for it. We're going to go ahead. We're going to bring our top-down camera back in, and we got to measure out 2/3 of a cup of this stuff. And it comes, of course, with its own little scooper, and so we can use that to help us out here. Let's see here. 1 scoop is about, it's actually close to 1/2 a cup. And so I'm gonna maybe use a little bit less for next time, because we don't want to get to a full cup. Let's see here. We're getting to 2/3 of a cup, but it's it's unevenly distributed inside the measuring cup. All right. There we go. Let's see here. It's more like approaching 3/4 of a cup in there. I'm just going to take a little bit out. Take a little bit more out, and then I think we'll be okay. Let me just remove a little bit more. There we go. That's about 2/3 of a cup. So we're going to pour that in there. And there we go. Okay. That's all the ingredients that we're going to need for our smoothie. So next step, we are going to put our cover on the smoothie like such. And now we are going to pulse it about 5, 6, 7, 8 times and then blend it on medium for 20 to 30 seconds. So let's go ahead. Let's see here. I'm going to go with, I think crush is probably what we want to go with. It's 1, 2. It's not quite 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8. And yeah, and now we're going to blend it on, actually it says medium, so we'll go with blend. So we're going to wait 20, 30 seconds. And I think that's about good. Let's pop this thing open. You guys are lucky at home. The microphone basically didn't pick up any of that, but my ears certainly did. There we go. Nice and cohesive. Smells interesting. I'm definitely interested to see how this thing turns out. I actually wonder, I basically have all the ingredients I need to make more servings of the stuff later on. No one but me here. Hello, hello, hello. Hope that you're having a fun evening this evening. I'm in the process of making a pumpkin pie smoothie while I wait for my proper pumpkin pies to cook upstairs. You can see on the left-hand side, I have a little timer going that tells me how many minutes I have left with those bad boys. We just finished making our smoothie. You know what? We've basically arrived at the end of what it is that we got to do here. All that's left at this point is basically taking our pumpkin pies out of the oven, plating them and whatnot. So I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to put the cap back on this thing. And I am going to put some things. Also, let's unplug the thingamabob, considering we no longer need it. I'm going to put some things in the trolley now that they are no longer needed on the table. Cinnamon we will still use. Oat milk we don't need, so we'll put that there. Pumpkin puree, we will put that on the trolley. I'm going to have to... There's still a lot left. So I'm definitely at some point going to have to figure out some sort of use for it. Maybe I will just continue to make more and more pumpkin pie smoothies. We don't need our vanilla. We don't need our measuring spoons. What else? We don't need any, we don't need this cup, which I usually keep our spoons stored inside of. This is our pumpkin pie spice mixture. I'm going to put that in here as well. I don't remember why I even brought this thing of plastic wrap downstairs, so we'll put that in here as well. And we will also put our vanilla protein powder there at the bottom. We definitely don't need any more salt. We don't need the 2 measuring cups, so we will put those in there as well. I'm a little bit scared about putting the excess egg whites in the trolley, so I'm going to keep them on the table for now. We'll put them there, put them in the trolley later. This spoon we can put in the trolley. We will need this knife. In fact, we might as well wash this knife. We don't need our, what do you call it, digital scale, so we'll put that in the trolley as well. But we will need the knife. Let me just move some things around real quick. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to wash the knife now. Pumpkin cookies too, says no one but me here, with leftover Ken. That is an idea. I've definitely made something like that before, pumpkin cookies, but it's definitely been a minute. That is an interesting idea. Let's bring in the sync camera so that we can wash it. I'm sure there are a lot of interesting pumpkin recipes I can make with this stuff. The thing is like, today was a pretty big project making these pumpkin pies, and so like, I'm not exactly motivated to immediately run out and make something new right away. You know, you need a little break from baking every now and then. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Let's bring the sync camera out of there. There's probably like pumpkin donuts, for example. I'm trying to think of other pumpkin flavored desserts that we can make with this stuff. Hold on, got an important text. There we go. That's taken care of. Let's go ahead and let's pour out our smoothies. I have these two glasses prepared. They're like these fancy looking goblets. That's the word. The thing about these goblets, let me zoom in real quick so I can talk about them. I've definitely used these on some like older streams in the past. The thing about these goblets is like they kind of are in this very unique area where like they're very nice looking. A lot of craftsmanship went into them, and they are glass, but they're also just like a little bit too tacky looking that you wouldn't really like set them up for like a nice fancy dinner. They're weird, but they're the perfect thing for pouring a pumpkin smoothie into at the end of a big ol' cooking stream, which is what we're going to do right now. We're going to go ahead. We're going to fill this bad boy up. I want to make sure that they're even in terms of how much they're filled at. So I'm going to pour some into this guy first before I top up the other guy. And we'll pour a little bit more in here. Okay, I feel like... Yeah, there's definitely a fair bit of excess mixture at the bottom of this thingy, and I don't know how I can get it out. I bet what I could probably do... You know what I'm going to do? This thing can be a little dangerous. I'm actually going to put it in the sink, just so that it's out of the way and nobody can get harmed by it. There we go. And now, I just remembered that I actually have my scraper. I was using it a little bit earlier for when I was making the pumpkin puree for the pumpkin pies. I can wipe this down real quick. Remove some of the pumpkin pie puree off of it. Now I can actually use this to scrape up some of the stuff inside the blender and get it in this glass. Okay. And that's... I can now I can probably... Now I want to even things out and put a little bit more in the other glass. So let me get a little bit more. Make sure that nothing... goes to waste. There we go. Okay, I think that's about good. Just move this over here to the side. Look at these bad boys. And now what I'm going to do is one of our final steps is I'm just going to garnish these with a few walnuts. Normally, when you're serving pumpkin pies, I think pecans, however you pronounce them, tend to be pecans. There's a lot of ways to pronounce them. Those tend to be the preferred nuts that you put on top of pumpkin-related things or serve alongside them. But I wanted to get a little creative today, which is code for we only had walnuts, and pecans are pretty expensive, and so I figured we would just use walnuts. And not to be outdone, I also have on top of the walnuts, and also let me zoom in a little bit just so you can get a bit of a better view of the action here. I also have some whipped cream, although it's called whipped topping. This is no name brand whipped topping. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shake this thing well. And now we're going to break off the seal. We're going to squirt just a dollop of this stuff on these things. There we go. And there we go. Ah, what nice looking little guys. What nice looking little guys. Let me bring the zoomed in head-on camera so I can show a better view of these guys. Whoops. It says something went wrong with the restream chat. Let me just... Oh, is it reloading on its own? Is there an issue there? I don't know if there's an issue there. It seems like it's still going okay. It seems like the chat is still all right. Oh, seems like it's reloading. There we go. All right, sorry, I was a little concerned there. There we go. What nice looking little guys. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take just a couple of pictures of these bad boys. Just for posterity. Although they don't look very good from this perspective because they're not lit correctly, which is why I got to go from this perspective. And there we go. Sorry that this looks a little bit... You know what? I can zoom out a little bit just so that you can get a better view of how things look right now. And let me just move this thing out of the way so they can have a cleaner shot of these two bad boys. And I'm also going to just do a top-down view like this. Uninterrupted. I'm going to do just one of them. No, I know that it's low battery. That's okay. You don't have to let me know. And there we go. I think that's good enough. And I'll edit those photos a little bit in post. And here we go. We have just about a minute and a half left on our pumpkin pie timer. And that's going to work out really well for us because after we get our pumpkin pies out of the oven, we're going to want to taste test and see just how close that pumpkin pie tastes to the pumpkin pie smoothie. This is getting exciting. All right, we are just down to a minute left. I'm going to go ahead. Let me just put this thing on here. There we go. The scraper back in the bowl that it was originally in. We're also going to put the cover on the blender like such. And there we go. So it'll be ready to be brought out later on. All right. We made quite the interesting selection of drinks today, I'll say that much. Quite the interesting selection. don't need the cap anymore for our whipped cream, aka whipped topping, so I'll just schlep that in there. Here we go. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That means our pumpkin pie should be ready, but they might not be. We'll have to check whether or not they're set. I'm going to go upstairs, check up on them bad boys, and I will be right back. The pumpkin pies are not quite set. They've puffed up really nicely. They're smelling really nicely, but they still need a few more minutes. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes, but we might stop maybe halfway. Now, why is the timer not working? The timer, hold on. If I press the reset timer button, does that fix things? Oh, interesting. It would seem as if, for whatever reason, StreamerBot decided to shut down. But why did StreamerBot shut down? Now, that is most interesting. StreamerBot is the program that I use to run some of the more complicated procedures on my various cooking streams. Let me just bring that back in there. And then I will reset the timer. All right. There we go. And I'm going to set that going, but I might stop it a little bit sooner. Okay, here's the thing. What I wanted to do is I wanted to try one of my pumpkin pies first so that I could have a frame of reference for how those taste before I try some of the pumpkin pie smoothie. But I think we're going to do it in reverse. I think what we're going to do is we're going to try one of our pumpkin pie smoothies first, see how that tastes, and then with our abnormal pumpkin pie tastes at the top of our mind, we're going to try the normal pumpkin pie experience and see how that fares by comparison. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's give this bad boy the old patented cozy taste test. Okay, I got a lot of the whipped topping in there, so I didn't get that much of the actual pumpkin. Let me have a little bit more. Interesting. So, what I didn't expect out of this bad boy is that this actually has way more of a sour profile to it than I was anticipating. I thought that this was gonna be overwhelmingly sweet, but it's actually kind of very balanced. It is definitely sweet, but there is some of the inherent sourness of the gourd that comes through as well. It's definitely very interesting, I feel like I maybe put, by the way, a few too many nuts on top, because I definitely swallowed a lot of them while I was trying to take a sip of this. Let's have another taste. I like it a lot, but it definitely is a bit of an acquired taste, which is weird to say, but this is not just this is not a dessert smoothie. I mean, it is probably more dessert-like than a lot of other healthier smoothies out there, but This definitely has an unusual flavor profile to it that is not exactly what I expected out of it, but that I still enjoy the taste of a lot. I expected this to taste a lot more like if you took a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks and you turned it into a smoothie, but this really does taste a lot more like something that you would eat at Mandy's, the healthy soup and salad restaurant, which is interesting. Yeah, I feel I do feel a little bit guilty about drinking this thing. This isn't necessarily something that I would want to start every day at the Kozibear household with, but it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. I like it. I'm definitely going to make this thing on a couple of other occasions. Now, the only thing is, this stuff is so viscous and thick, it's completely coated the glass. There's a lot of liquid matter in here that I should be able to drink, that I really want to drink, but it's just kind of tough to do so. Oh, by the way, I never showed it on stream. But real quick, I can actually bring up, this is what the pumpkin spice smoothie is supposed to look like per the book. As you can see, it's an interesting interesting looking. I will say this is definitely not the most appetizing smoothie of all the smoothies that are in the book. I think we definitely did a good job of prettying it up, making it into something that really is quite pleasing on the eyes. Just gonna take another photo from this perspective, because why not? And there we go. But yeah, I really wish. Also, the banana definitely comes through a lot more in this than I thought it was going to. I thought the banana would be a little bit lost in here, but you can definitely taste the banana, which is interesting. The thing is, I wish I had a spoon. I wish I had a spoon so I could scoop up some of the excess smoothie that's sort of stuck on the bottom of this thing, because at this point it's sort of hard to get it all pulled up in one location so I can slurp up the rest of it. Okay, last time I'm gonna do that. Let's see here, we have passed the 5-minute point. Now, we did let out a little bit of excess heat from the oven earlier when we opened it up, but I figure that we don't want to overburn, we don't want to accidentally burn our pumpkin pie, so I'm going to go ahead. I am going to just temporarily turn off our timer, and we will go upstairs and see how our pumpkin pies are doing now. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary people of the chat, I know that you've been waiting with bated breath this entire stream for us to unveil some pumpkin-ass pies. And let me tell you, I have some pumpkin-ass pies. Let's bring in our top-down cooking camera so I can show off some of these beauties. Look at how nice these things are. Look at how nice these things are. They are fully set, but they do wobble a little bit, kind of like a Japanese cheesecake. They're also very hot, and I forgot that temporarily when I reached my hand over there. Look at these bad boys. Look at these bad boys. This guy's really nice. This one I think came out best. This one, I wonder if... Anyways, this guy over here, this is the one that we're going to be taste testing tonight because look at how easily this came out, by the way. Hold on. Ooh, we should probably use some of our oven mitts. By the way, I know I should normally be using my Pokemon oven mitts for these, but I was very much in a hurry to kind of like get these out of the oven, and it didn't occur to me, oh yeah, I should probably be using the Pokemon oven mitts for these. Anyways, what a nice little boy. What a nice little boy. Look at the little boy. Look at the little boy. Let me just, I'm going to, is it super duper hot? Nah, yeah, it is kind of hot. All right, I'll keep that there, but I am going to take just a few photos, hopefully a couple hundred or two. Now, if these guys are out of the oven. And this will also give them a chance to cool down a little bit because you're supposed to let the pumpkin pies cool down a little bit before digging into them. Let me actually move this a little bit over here for this particular photo. There we go. That's a cool little photo. I'm going to take a few pictures from the front as well. It's good. I'm trying to take some atmospheric angles like this. Atmospheric, I mean cinematic. Atmospheric, I don't know why I was thinking that. And here we go. This is a cool shot. This is a cool shot. Cool ass shot. Let me just do a little bit like this. Do a little bit like this. And just one like that. There we go. I think we got a good smattering, a good selection of photos there. Okay, now this is, again, we want to try out this particular pumpkin pie. So we're going to schlep him onto that plate. There we go. Now I want to take pictures of just this pumpkin pie. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I know this is usually a little bit slow, but when you get to this part of the stream, you gotta take your time. You gotta appreciate what you have. Okay. Let me just move this around in the plate a little bit. There we go. There we go. That's good. All right. Enough picture taking. We got to taste test this bad boy while he's still a little bit hot, albeit not as hot as he was previously. This thing, I'll put this on here temporarily. We're going to insert a little bit of whipped topping on top. Just a little bit. And I just realized we're missing a fork But I bet that if I just use my hands, it'll probably be okay. A lot of the whipped topping is actually kind of melting on top. Maybe it's still a little bit too hot. I gotta be honest. Maybe it's a little bit too hot. I'm gonna grab a fork real quick. Actually, you know what? No, you know what? I completely forgot. We have spoons. We have spoons that we were using earlier. This will be much better. Let me bring in the sink camera so I can clean the spoon thoroughly so there's no excess egg on it. There we go. We'll wipe down our spoon a little bit. Bring our sink camera out. And now we can properly taste test our pumpkin pie on which most of the whipped topping is already melted. Let me bring in our zoomed in camera view. And we will give this good old patented super hot taste test. Yeah, talk about piping hot. Yeah, this is a lot closer to what you would expect out of your average pumpkin mixture compared to the what is it? The smoothie. I was like, well, what's the name of this stream again? Yeah, this has much more of your average pumpkin mixture. Not quite as sour as the smoothie that we made earlier. It's very hot though, so unfortunately it's not quite so easy for us to eat into, but I wanted to make sure that we got a little bit of it in right here, right now, before the stream ended. Just so I could give you my opinion on it. And my opinion, now that I've mostly gotten past the extreme heat of it, is that it is very good. This is a good-ass time. We made ourselves a good-ass tasty treat on today's stream. And again, I'm happy that I made this. Hold on. I'm going to just pour some of the excess whipped topping in there. Ah, man. Whew. I will say, I am curious as to why the pumpkin pies have so many, like, bespeckled bits on them. I don't know if that's because, like, maybe just parts of them burned a little bit here and there, which doesn't seem likely. If we let's bring in some of the pictures of the original recipes that they're based on. Yeah, like, look at how nice, look at how uniform those are. I'm really curious what their trick was in making them look as good as they do. It's a bunch of fakers. They didn't actually make pumpkin pie. They molded that out of clay. All right, well, that's taken care of. Let's bring our zoomed in view back once again. Let me just check up on something real quick with our computer. That's good. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to tonight's stream. Remember that this is Season 6 of Kozibear's Cooking, and that new episodes of it are currently streaming live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on both twitch.tv/CozyBearLive and youtube.com/@CozyBearLive from now until October 30th. You can also watch past VODs of both this season and all prior seasons of Kozibear's Cooking on both platforms, as well as clips of this season's best moments on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. You can find me at Alex Kozina on the latter two platforms. That's at ALEXKOZINA. And if you want to keep up with what I'm doing outside of my cooking streams, you can also find me on Twitter, which is at Alex Kozina. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary people, we spent today's stream making some beautiful pumpkin pie themed desserts and treats, and we had ourselves just a fantastic time. We did a lot of this in preparation for Canadian Thanksgiving, which is coming up very soon. Whether or not you celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving, I hope that you have a great week.